All right, ladies, today we're diving into a topic that gets a lot of confusion and probably even more guilt tied to it than anybody should ever think. We are going to talk about carbs. Carbs are one of the most misunderstood macronutrients, especially among women. You either feel like you're eating too many, cutting them out completely, or terrified that they're going to make you get fat. So today we're going to talk about what carbs actually do in your body, how insulin works, why it matters, how fat gain actually happens when it's attributed to carbs, what insulin resistance is and how it develops. We're going to talk about how to manage carbs to support your hormones and goals, and what net carbs are versus total carbs, and why you should care. We're also going to talk about why you might feel tired when you start to lower carbs at first, if that's an approach that you're taking, because I hear it a lot from women. So this is science, but I'm going to keep it super simple and high level. So let's go. First off, what do carbs actually do? Carbohydrates are our body's primary energy source. When you eat carbs, your body breaks them down into glucose, which is a form of sugar. Then that glucose enters your bloodstream and gives your cells fuel to do literally everything. Walk, breathe, think, lift weights, run errands, keep your heart beating. Carbs are not bad. Your body needs them. But the type, the amount, and the timing, that's where there is some things that matter. So let's talk about insulin response. Here's what happens when you eat carbs. Your blood sugar rises. In response, your body releases a hormone called insulin. Insulin is like the key that unlocks the cell that says, here's the fuel, let it in. It's how your body moves glucose out of your bloodstream and into your cells to be used for energy or stored for later. But here's the deal. If your car is already full of gas and you keep pouring more in, what happens? It overflows. The same thing happens with your body. If your cells already have enough fuel and you keep pouring a high carb, high calorie meal in, that excess fuel has to go somewhere. So where does it go? Fat storage on your body. So let's talk about how fat gain happens. I'm going to try and make this kind of visual for you, since I know this is probably something you're listening to, not watching. Imagine your body is like a cup and the carbs come in. The insulin helps move them into the cup, your cells. But if you keep pouring more into the cup and it can't hold it anymore, it spills over. And that spillover is stored in your liver and your muscles if they're depleted, or as body fat. So this is why overeating carbs consistently, especially refined ones like sugary snacks, breads, pastas, processed food, can lead to excess fat gain. And here's where it gets more serious. If your body is constantly flooded with high amounts of insulin, over time your cells become less sensitive to it. It's like they stop listening. This is called insulin resistance. Now your body has to pump out even more insulin to get the same result of opening those cells, letting the glucose in to be used for energy. And guess what? High insulin levels lead to fat storage. It makes it harder to burn fat. It increases your hunger and cravings. It causes energy crashes, and it wreaks havoc on your other hormones, especially for women in perimenopause and menopause. So insulin resistance is a major driver of belly fat, fatigue, and hormonal issues. And here's the kicker. It doesn't happen overnight. It builds up over months and years of overeating, undermoving, stress, poor sleep, and too many processed carbs. So let's talk about how reducing carbs can help. When you reduce carb intake, you reduce the demand for insulin. That gives your cells a chance to become more insulin sensitive again, meaning that your body doesn't have to overproduce insulin just to manage your blood sugar. For women struggling with belly fat, low energy, hormonal issues, prediabetes, this can be a game changer. But listen, that doesn't mean zero carbs. It means intentionally lowering them to a safe range. So we want to focus on whole food carbs like fruit, vegetables, beans, oats, quinoa, sweet potatoes. We want to make sure that we space them out throughout our day over our meals. We want to always pair those complex carbs with protein and fiber. And we want to avoid carb-heavy snacking and sedentary lifestyles. As we're talking about carbs, let's clear up the difference between net carbs and total carbs, because I know all of you are at the grocery store looking at these foods that say 2 net carbs, and you're wondering, what the hell does that mean? So I'm going to clear it up. First off, total carbs are all the carbohydrates in a food. Then you have fiber. Fiber are carbs your body can't digest. They don't cause insulin spikes. Then there's sugar alcohols, and those are sometimes subtracted because they don't impact blood sugar the same way that normal carbohydrates do. So net carbs equals total carbs minus fiber and sometimes sugar alcohols. So why does this matter? Because fiber doesn't count towards your carb load in the same way. it slows digestion, it stabilizes blood sugar, and it supports digestion. So a food with 20 total carbs but 10 grams of fiber has 10 net carbs. So when you look at high fiber, low carb tortillas, it'll say 20 grams of carbs but 18 grams of fiber. So there's 2 net carbs. So for blood sugar control, insulin resistance, and fat loss, net carbs are usually more useful to look at. Now, if you've ever tried to go low carb and felt like absolute trash for days, that is real. Your body's used to quick, easy glucose for energy, especially if you tend to overeat carbs and undereat protein and fat. So what happens is when you reduce that fuel source, your body has to adjust. This is called a carb flu sometimes. People call it that. I just call it withdrawing from eating too many carbs. But you might feel tired, sluggish, moody, foggy. But after a few days, if you're eating enough protein, healthy fats, fiber, and hydrating well, your body's gonna adapt and it's gonna learn to use fat for energy more efficiently. So that transition is normal. It's why I don't recommend slashing carbs overnight. Instead, we have to taper them down, build meals around protein and fiber, and let our body adapt. So more than anything, I want you guys to understand that carbs are not the enemy, but eating too many too often without movement or intention is what causes problems. So instead of fearing carbs, we just need to understand them. We use them for fuel, not as filler. And if you're struggling with belly fat, fatigue, brain fog, mood swings, constant hunger, it might be time to look at how carbs are showing up in your life. If you're overeating them, if you're balancing them well with protein, high quality fat, and fiber, and acknowledging how your body is handling them. So we have to start small. Eat protein and fiber first at your meals. Walk after high carb meals. Choose carbs that grow from the ground when possible. Again, fruits, vegetables, quinoa, sweet potatoes, beans, and give your body space to breathe between carb heavy snacks, or avoid carb heavy snacks as much as possible. And that's how you're gonna realize that you can make your body stop fighting you as much and work with it, not against it. So again, I never recommend any drastic measures, cutting carbs entirely, but if you're really struggling to lose body fat, first off, you have to make sure you are in a proper deficit, because you can't lose weight without being in a proper deficit and having the right exercise aligned with your program. So it may not just be about a deficit, it might not be a problem with carbs, your whole structure might be off, so that's something to consider. But if you feel like you're having those crazy energy crashes, lots of fatigue, brain fog, constant hunger and mood swings, then it might be time to lower your carb intake for a little while to see if your body needs a reset and to adapt to learning how to function properly again. So if you have any questions about this, shoot me a message on Instagram. But until then, just lean into your non-negotiable habits. Remember that carbs are not the enemy. They are fuel. They help run our body. We need them. If we don't have carbs and insulin, we will literally die. So we have to be fueling our body properly. It is important not to cut carbs entirely. And we want to make sure we're just prioritizing the right thing. You guys got this.